Hey guys, welcome to the Trash Picture Show. This is going to be my spoiler-filled overview and review of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Now, I have done a spoiler-free review, and if you haven't seen the movie, I implore you check that out. But if you don't mind spoilers, or if you have seen it and want to have a bit of a discussion, stay tuned here because I am going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of the movie. So, first off, the movie opens with us being introduced to Michael Rooker's Savant, who is a hacker and an expert in hand-to-hand combat. He is shown in solitary confinement, and Amanda Waller approaches him and tells him, look, if you do this mission, you will get the usual bargain, 10 years off your sentence. So he's brought into the room to have the bomb injected into his neck. Now, fun fact, the guy who injects the bomb into his neck is John Ostrander. John Ostrander is one of the creators of the original Suicide Squad run and comic book for DC, and he's done some really cool comics, and he has a bit of banter with Savant. And yeah, it's cool that they had a cameo from the original comic book run's creator in the movie. I kind of like that. So Savant is introduced to the rest of the team. It's headed by Rick Flag. Obviously, Joel Kinnaman returns. We have Harley returning. And yeah, again, Margot Robbie just encompasses the character so well. She comes on the plane and it's like, sorry I'm late, I had to do a number 2. We also have Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. And a lot of people are saying this is kind of a reboot and ignores the David Ayer movie, but I don't think so. Because the banter between Boomerang and Harley does show that, yeah, they've done this before. So it's obviously a reference to that. I would say this is more of a soft reboot. They don't totally, push aside Ayer's movie, but they don't directly reference it. But to say that this ignores it completely, I wouldn't agree with either. So we're also introduced to Javelin. We're introduced to Weasel, which is a mocapped character. He's a humanoid weasel creature played by Sean Gunn. That's James Gunn's brother. We're also introduced to Mongol. She's an alien warrior. We have, as well as Savant, we have Blackguard. That's Pete Davidson's character. And the Detachable Arm Kid, DAK, played by collaborator and good friend to Sean Gunn, Nathan Fillion. So the mission takes them to Corto Maltese, and they storm the beach, and Blackguard, Pete Davidson's character, totally screws them over. Now, here's the thing that totally caught me off guard, because I thought this was going to be 2 separate missions, but it's actually the same mission that the other Suicide Squad team were on. I thought that the secondary team was to replace the failed first mission, but no. And this is pretty cool. This shows how Viola Davis's Amanda Waller is so cutthroat. She sacrifices this entire team as a distraction to let the other one make it ashore. And that just shows how cold-blooded she is. So from the offset, Pete Davidson's Blackguard gets shot in the face. Just boom, gone. You also have Mongol attack a helicopter, and she causes the rotor to hit trees and hit a bunch of soldiers, and it crashes, crushing her and setting her on fire. Poor Weasel. This also shows how the team don't really give a shit because they're villains. The Weasel drowns before he even makes it on the beach. We also see Detachable Arm Kid. His powers are just useless. He goes over and starts slapping lads, and his arms get blown to pieces, and as a result he bleeds to death. This is one death that shocked me. Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang is killed, and I was like, holy shit, they killed Jai Courtney's Boomerang, and that sucked, because I'm not trying to be a prick, but Jai Courtney is at best okay in some of the roles he does. He isn't great, but I thought he was brilliant as Captain Boomerang, and I think they made a mistake killing him off. I don't know, maybe there's another universe with another Jai Courtney Captain Boomerang they can bring back, but I was shocked. Yeah, he gets hit with shrapnel, lots of pieces of shrapnel, and then crushed by the helicopter that Mongol takes down. Savant loses his shit and tries to swim away from the situation, and Amanda Waller blows up his head because he deserted. So Rick Flag escapes into the jungle and Harley is captured. Meanwhile, while this is going on, the secondary team led by Bloodsport makes it ashore. And this consists of Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher 2, and Polka Dot Man and King Shark. They make it ashore. And there's some really funny banter. And we also learn that essentially Ratcatcher 2 has a phobia of rats due to not Ratcatcher 2, Bloodsport has a phobia of rats due to some horrible stuff his father done to him. And that leads to some kind of funny encounters and some somewhat touching encounters between himself and Ratcatcher 2. But it goes back 3 days earlier, and we have Amanda Waller approaching Bloodsport and basically blackmailing him that his daughter is going to get a longer sentence if he doesn't if he doesn't volunteer for this mission. So his arm's twisted and he goes off and he meets the rest of his team. He meets John Cena's Peacemaker, he meets Ratcatcher 2, he meets Polka Dot Man, and he meets King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone. And yeah, again, the rapport and the chemistry between the characters is really good. Particularly the banter and rivalry between John Cena and Idris Elba is fantastic. Cena's okay, but he doesn't have the charisma of, say, like the likes of Batista. But I think he's strongest when he's put against other actors that really he says some dumb shit, and other actors are like, characters are like, what the fuck, are you for real? So they rendezvous anyway on the beach, and Amanda Waller detects that Rick Flag is still alive. So she tells the team to rescue him from insurgents, and he isn't actually being captured. He's been rescued by Sol Sora and her freedom fighters. That's Alison Braga's character, and the fucking idiots go in pure gun ho and murder most of Sol Sora's men. And rather than losing her shit, she's like, look, the current government in charge is absolutely rotten, and if you destroying Jotunheim can destabilize that, I will help you. I would side with the devil if needs be. I also forgot to mention there is a really cool montage at the start. I probably should have mentioned it. To the Jim Carroll band that people died. The song "People Died," and it's showing the remains and bodies, mutilated bodies of all the characters on the beach. And that's kind of fun because, as well, that's a bit of a throwback because James Gunn, he worked and wrote the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead, which that song was featured on as well. So that was kind of a little, I think, a nod to the fact that James Gunn likes that song. And that featured, it just shows all the characters horribly mutilated. You have a detachable arm kid like bleeding to death on the beach. You have Captain Boomerang covered in the wreckage of the helicopter with his hand holding a boomerang out. It's a cool little intro, and it just shows that, like, it just shows how horrible these characters can die, and also how fucking vicious and kind of insensitive the kind of backup team, the intel team or tech team that are part of Amanda Waller's kind of company or group is, because they're all betting who's going to die and who's going to live, and it's just a montage of them passing out money as it shows how the different characters died. But yeah, back to the main story. They rescue Rick Flag from Sol Sora, and Sol Sora agrees to help them. Meanwhile, Harley has been captured by the government, the Court of Maltese government, and the president takes a fancy to her. And there's this really nice montage of just her spending kind of like a lovely day with the president and be treated like a princess. And they have this really kind of raunchy sex scene, and everything's going great until the president's talking about what he's going to do to his enemies, including their children. And Harley just straight up fucking kills the dude, because she's like, look, I promised myself the next boyfriend I have, if there's any red flags, I'm going to kill him. And the minute you talk about killing children, that's a red flag. So she kills him. That's pretty cool as well. That just shows that, like, Harley's gotten over the Joker. She isn't totally kind of enamored or brainwashed by him, and she isn't going to be vulnerable, and she's not going to be manipulated anymore. And she has heart and common sense enough to kill someone who is threatening children. So obviously, she kills him. The guards come in and she's arrested. So she's kind of into shit now as a result, and she had an easy way out. We also learned that the Court of Maltese government have just discovered that there is an alien creature, Starro the Destroyer, from the comics. If you're wondering who Starro the Destroyer is, he mainly featured in the Superman comics, and he latches on to heroes' chests or faces to control them. But yeah, they find out that there is a project being going on in Jotunheim, and the Tinker, played by Peter Capaldi, is the only one who can kind of control the creature. So they say, look, if you don't want to be killed, or you don't want the rest of your staff or team to be killed, you're going to do this for us. So the way they see it is they can use Starro to conquer or destroy other nations, such as America, such as China, such as Russia. So the team end up, essentially, they end up going to the city in disguise. King Shark has to hide. At first he wants to join them because he's like, he doesn't want to be left out, so he says he's going to wear a fake mustache. And yeah, it's pretty funny. He throws a strop like a child when they won't let him wear a mustache. So yeah, the team goes in to capture the Tinker, played by Peter Capaldi. They find out that he frequents a brothel in the city. And the bus drive there, it's actually really nice. There's a really nice conversation between Ratcatcher 2 and Idris Elba's Bloodsport. He kind of sees as well, like his daughter, he imparts a kind of father figure vibe onto her as well, and she explains, look, my father was a drug addict, but he loved me. And Idris Elba's like, my father was a bastard, and she's like, if I could take my memories and give them to you, no matter how sad they are, they'll still be nicer, and I'd still give them to you. Ratcatcher 1, her father is played by Taika Waititi, and yeah, it's a real tender moment, and that was kind of something that solidifies and plays out later on, because you don't want her to die. And there's a nice exchange between them, which pays off later on, in that she says, Idris Elba's Bloodsport says, he says he's going to get her out of here alive, and she says, I'm going to get you out of here alive. And it's really cute exchange. So they get to the bar, and we learn a bit about Polka Dot Man here as well. We also learned in the jungle he was part of an experiment by his mother, and it isn't really polka dots such as an interdimensional virus that can basically burn people. And he has to excrete polka dots from his body, or else he'll die. So he goes into the bar with him, and they're all in disguise, and they're just waiting. So while they're waiting, to decide to party and cut loose, and it's just nice. It's also a nice throwback to the likes of the Dirty Dozen. For example, the night before the mission, the original Dirty Dozen, Lee Marvin lets the men cut loose. Like he brims them prostitutes, and he brims them booze. And it's just nice to see the characters just kind of cut loose and chill out. And even Peacemaker, who's been an absolute arsehole up until this point, is like, here, I'll get you all drinks. And he's like, hey, don't forget the rat. And he gets Sebastian, Ratcatcher's pet rat, a drink. And it's just cute to see him dancing. Well, even Polka Dot Man cuts loose, although it's a bit disturbing, because he's dancing with all these kind of sexy kind of women, and in his head they all look like his mother. It's weird. So the Tinker arrives, and they capture him, but at the same time, the Court of Maltese military arrive looking for essentially any Americans. So basically, we have Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man kind of pull the Tinker out of the back, and to cause a distraction to buy them an escape, Bloodsport, Rick Flag, and Peacemaker allowed themselves to get captured. They easily escape. I didn't really see the point in them in this scene. I think just to show how strong and how tough the three lads are, and how well they work together as a unit. They easily escape the kind of police van or armored carrier that's in them, And it's through this, from talking to one of the guards, Rick learns that Harley's still alive. And the thing I like about this Rick Flag is there's a lot more empathy and there's a lot more kind of compassion. And he's like, look, we have to rescue Harley. So they escape and they decide before they're going to do anything, they're going to rescue Harley. Meanwhile, Harley herself manages to escape torture from the main kind of prison. And there is a fantastic, absolutely kick-arse scene in... Oh, actually, before I go on, also in the bar sequence, Floyd Kaufman, the creator of Trauma, turns up as one of the patrons. Apologies, I had to backtrack. I meant to mention that. Floyd Kaufman essentially gave James Gunn his start in Trauma movies, and he has featured him in nearly every movie, and he's one of the patrons. So yeah, I did mention that. If you like Toxic Avenger, if you like Surf Nazis Must Die, he was the guy behind them. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for Floyd Kaufman as the characters are going into the bar. But back to Harley. Harley essentially escapes, and through a really cool kind of montage, this is pretty awesome because, as I was saying before, they kind of Deadpooled or made her a bit Deadpoolish in Birds of Prey. This makes her an absolute badass. And to the song Just a Gigolo, she absolutely slaughters, I think maybe 20, 30 guards through hand-to-hand and firearms. She kicks ass. So it just shows, and the physicality that Margot Robbie does in this scene. Like, maybe there's a stunt person, but there is some scenes that Robbie herself does, and they kick ass. And yeah, she literally fucking destroys about 30 guards. Something I did like as well is there's a bit of a reference to an Amanda Connor comic, where what we see is like really, really horrible violent actions that Harley's committing, but what she sees and thinks is like, instead of blood and gore coming out of the guys, it's cartoon flowers and little birdies. So I like that touch. But yeah, they made Harley much more of a badass in this movie. Not that she wasn't cool in the other ones. She kicked ass in Air's Suicide Squad, and she did kick ass in Birds of Prey. But in this one, she is totally kind of just absolutely slaughtering guys with ease. So she escapes, and just as the other team is about to save her, they meet up and they decide they're going to essentially attack Jotunheim and destroy it. So they use Capaldi's the Tinker, who they've captured, to sneak them into the facility, and they start planting charges. So Rick Flag takes Ratcatcher and the Tinker to the basement of Jotunheim to find out what is in the bowels of the fortress. And in there, Flag is disgusted to find that a bunch of Corto Maltesians, the people of Corto Maltese, are being experimented on with miniature Starros from a creature that was actually captured by the US. But as a result, the US did not want to test out the creature or kind of do any kind of experiments on their soil. So they made a deal with the prior government to experiment there. And Capaldi is like, yeah, don't be a fucking idiot. This is obviously America's doing, and Flag is disgusted. So he's trying to find evidence to show what happened. Unknowns to most of the team, Peacemaker has been sent there as well to prevent this. So he goes he follows Flag, Tinker, and also Ratcatcher too into the bowels, and a fight ensues between himself and Flag just as the explosives go off. And we learn that they went off because Polka Dot Man tried to fight a bunch of soldiers but ignited them. So the building falls down and Starro is released as a result. He ends up gorily dispatching the Tinker in the most horrible way possible, just fucking rips him in half and then splatters him off a window, which he kind of deserves because the Tinker was an arsehole. Rick Flag and Peacemaker regain consciousness and a fight ensues, and it is a fucking drawn out badass brawl between Joel Kinnaman and John Cena. And just as it looks like Rick Flag is about to do the right thing and finish off Cena, who wants to cover up this whole thing. Peacemaker grabs a tile and shoves it into Rick Flag's heart and kills him. And this was another death that I was like, holy shit, they just fucking killed Rick Flag. So yeah, and that again, like with Joy Courtney's Boomerang, this movie made me really like Rick Flag, and I was like, oh fuck. And yeah, it got me. It literally got me in the feels, and I was like, ah, for fuck. So while this is happening, Ratcatcher 2 has managed to escape as the building's collapsing and witnesses this. And the hard drive with all the evidence slides through a gate, and she takes it and runs off with Peacemaker in pursuit. So while the building was blowing up, we have essentially Bloodsport, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Harley trying to avoid being crushed and jumping from section to section. And just as Peacemaker is about to shoot Ratcatcher 2, who should come through the ceiling but Bloodsport, and he saves her life. So he literally stands by what he said in the bus, that he's going to get her out of this thing alive. He saves her life. And essentially the team are told, look, you've done your mission, you've destroyed Jotunheim, you've destroyed the evidence, come home. So the team are about to go, and essentially Bloodsport is like, oh fuck this. So he changes his mind, and it kind of galvanizes the rest of the team to stop Starro, who is now on a rampage, and he's killing people in Corto Maltese. And like the rebels have liberated the government, but that won't matter if Starro controls everyone. So they decide to take out Starro. Amanda Waller throws a fucking shit fit and is going to blow up our heroes, our quote unquote heroes, and her team, who are just fed up of her shit and how kind of cold and callous she is, knock her out and decide to assist the team. So it's a really cool battle between the Suicide Squad and Starro. Starro has also unleashed a bunch of smaller Starros to jump onto the faces of the Corto Maltese army and citizens. So they start attacking our heroes. And yeah, Harley, using Javelin spear that she had acquired from the prison, decides to take the high ground and try and maybe stab Starro. But to distract him, Polka Dot Man uses his polka dots to burn it. And he's really happy because he gets to be like a superhero for once, which is something he always wanted to be. But he gets crushed, which is really fucking sad, because the guy finally got a bit of happiness and to be killed. And poor old Bloodsport felt bad for it as well. And Bloodsport tries to shoot and disable Starro with the help of King Shark, to no joy, and he's then attacked by the citizens. And Starro basically, through the citizens, say, this is my city. Ratcatcher 2 comes with her rat lamp and goes, no, this isn't your city, this is their city. And a literal army of rats climb up Starro and start attacking and eating him. While this is going on, while it's distracting enough, Harley uses the spear to pierce the iris of Starro, and this allows the rats to sink in and eat all the nerve endings. So what happens is the rats, thanks to Harley, come into Starro's body and literally eat it from the inside out. So our heroes, well, our remaining heroes survive, and also thanks to Ratcatcher, Bloodsport wasn't killed by the mob of Starro zombies, and she fulfills his part of the deal as well. So it's cool. They literally ended up saving each other, like they said on the bus. Waller is none too happy, but Bloodsport blackmails her, saying that if any of them are killed or died, if his daughter is sent to prison, and if they aren't let go free, he's going to make sure that the evidence he has goes to every media outlet on the planet. Harley's a bit annoyed by this, but does understand, and she says, look, I just want you to know Rick Flag was my friend. And Bloodsport's like, he was mine too, which kind of sucks, because I didn't have one many friend. Harley says I can be your friend, but she can't even remember his name. Our heroes go off, and yeah, it's pretty nice. Bloodsport overcomes his fear of rats. His daughter sees him on the news saving Corto Maltese, and has renewed pride in her father. And yeah, that's how the movie essentially ends. Our surviving Suicide Squad members fly off into the sunset, and there is two post-credit sequences. The first one being is the Weasel survived, and it wakes up on the beach long after all this stuff has happened. Like, looks around and like panics and runs off. The second one, the second the second post credit sequence is setting up for the HBO Max series Peacemaker. Yes, John Cena's character survived being shot by Bloodsport, and yeah, the two agents who kind of fucked over Amanda Waller as punishment, they're put in charge of him. So yeah, they're the two after credit sequences. If you're interested, my overall thoughts: movie was good. It was a bit. There was a lot going on, and it came close to kind of collapsing under the weight of its plot. But by and large, it kicked arse. I think the chemistry between the characters was great. I don't think there was any kind of like fucking bad character, bad actor in the lot. Even John Cena, I complained he wasn't as charismatic as the likes of Dave Bautista, but he was still fun. And he was still funny. Again, he's like an asshole Captain America. If I had to cite any other criticism, I think some characters got overshadowed by other ones. Like, I would have liked to see more of Polka Dot Man. I was going to say Pokemon Man. Polka Dot Man. King Shark was it in a nice bit, but I think he could have been featured more. Sylvester Stallone done a fantastic job. And I do hope they bring Bloodsport back. I think Bloodsport was just put in there as a placeholder for Will Smith's Deadshot, but I actually liked him more. I was shocked by how much kind of comedic timing Idris Elba had, because he was really fucking funny in this as well. And yeah, a bit bummed out they killed off Rick Flag, and I was shocked by that, and I was also shocked by killing off Captain Boomerang. But guys, what did you think? Do you think that they killed off the wrong characters? Were you shocked by anything? Do you have any criticisms, or was there any favourite parts in the movie? Let me know in the comments below, and yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.